There's something that people don't usually talk about when it comes to big writing mistakes, and it's really a very easy mistake to make in your writing, especially when you're starting out. But it can be the difference between creating a masterpiece and something that's just passable. This mistake is when the writer forgets about the very driving incident that began their story in the first place! Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another Writer's Rant, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. The reason I am dispensing with this particular rant is because I just saw Brad Pitt's newest movie, Fight Club. Oops. Oh, wait. I'm not actually supposed to talk about Fight Club. That's right, Brad Pitt's newest movie, Ad Astra. It's a wonderfully claustrophobic space thriller about an astronaut who must go as far as Neptune to stop his murderous father in his quest to discover alien life. It's a pretty good movie if you're looking for a thriller, but it's also kinda strange. The strangest aspect of the film is the inciting incident when unexplained supernatural waves of electromagnetic energy wash over the Earth, killing tens of thousands of people and knocking out human settlements all over the solar system. The opening sequence is really cool, and the threat feels so alien and inevitable. But beyond the tragedy that triggers this chain of events to put Brad Pitt on a journey to find his father, Tommy Lee Jones, who is determined to prove that the Men in Black do indeed exist, there's really no need for this destructive force. In fact, it only pops up a few more times to remind us that, oh, that's a thing! Now, one might claim that making these surges of energy more prevalent might take away from the meatier themes within the movie. However, I argue that it would enhance the story overall. As the main character grapples with his personal problems, there would be a sense of urgency to resolve them as the surges increase in strength and regularity, endangering all of humanity in the process. Or at least that is how I would have written it. Fury Road is a great example of blending the antagonistic driving force into a narrative of character discovery and weightier themes. The constant threat of Immortan Joe catching up with our heroes gives them a sense of urgency and that nothing is safe. Even the fabled oasis at the end of Fury Road might not be a safe haven, and once the characters have grown as they are supposed to, they are finally able to resolve the conflict with Joe. Now, another example of a story that is unfortunately undermined. It undermined its own potential by forgetting that the force that originally drove the plot is Disney's Moana. Yep, that sweet, happy, and musically catchy movie. By removing the heart of Te Fiti, Maui unleashes a force of death that crawls from island to island, killing them. This blight is featured prominently at the beginning of the film, but once it is used as a plot device to get Moana off the island, we don't see it anywhere else. This idea of a deadly force ravaging the ocean is never verified beyond Moana's own home island. As such, there is a lack of urgency to this story, and we are just left with a quaint but predictable coming-of-age tale. A movie that could have been great, but just settled for good. When it comes to writing, the opening of a story is absolutely essential. The atmosphere, tones, and expectations that the opening presents will clue the reader into what kind of adventure they are going on. If you deviate too much from what you've established, or even outright abandon it, your reader becomes less interested, and worse, might become incredibly confused. Brandon Sanderson Senpai has described this as a betrayal of trust. While some might consider that wording harsh, a better way of thinking about it is that you have sacrificed potential and payoff for a lazily used and too convenient trope. Using Sanderson's own work as a further example for what I'm saying here, we see that in the first Mistborn trilogy, the very opening chapter, with its ash falling from the sky, a cruel plantation, murder, and the skilled thief Kelsier getting revenge on all of the terrible noblemen here on this plantation, creates an atmosphere of despair, darkness, and action that are prevalent throughout the entire series. If Sanderson had changed this or abandoned any of these themes by the end of the first book, or actually anywhere along the way before the trilogy's epic conclusion, he would have robbed his own story and us, the readers, of an emotionally stunning ending. Seriously, the end of The Hero of Ages is one of the few books that can bring me to tears. It is so amazingly done, and it can only be pulled off because these themes of cruelty, darkness, action, despair are prevalent throughout the entire trilogy. So as a novice writer, I pass along this kind of advice. Do not abandon the initial conflict in your story until it is resolved. And the best stories are the ones that can make their narrative come full circle by resolving the opening in the story's ending. How do you accomplish something like that? Think about how you are starting your story and why. Here are some questions. How does the beginning tie directly into my story's ending? What atmosphere do I want to create for the story? What themes am I playing with here? And how do I want my characters to grow? Bearing these thoughts in mind, your story will be stronger and better overall, rather than just being simply good or passable. Because ultimately, good is forgettable. Just like how I will probably forget most of Ad Astra by the time that this video ends. Alrighty, that does it for this rant. Short, sweet, and to the point. If you like what you've heard from me, please comment, like, or subscribe. But especially go and check out our podcast, Camille's Harem, found on Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play. You can also reach out to the Harem via our subreddit and become part of our writing community. We also have writing exercises that will help you out over at our Pinterest page. And finally, we continue to hunt down terrible fanfics to do epic readings of for your enjoyment. If you know any of these, please send us a link to them via our Twitter at Camille's Harem. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.